The brands that I've operated and run have primarily had just-in-time inventory, like Native and a couple others that I've run. Native would produce deodorants. Today's Monday that we're recording. If you bought a deodorant today, it was probably produced on Friday or like Thursday. We never had a ton of cash tied up in inventory. And I think people don't realize how special that is, especially when you're starting out. If you can get terms from your suppliers so that you don't have to pay up front. Like, Walmart and Target, when we send them inventory, they don't immediately pay us. This is episode 2 of season 3. We dropped our first episode of the season with Ty Haney. That's out. Nik, I think you're probably on the shrooms. No, she sent you weed. I don't know what she sent you.
THCV, joggy.
THC, that's right. Yeah. Okay, not shrooms.
Don't be putting rumors out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I need a drug company to sponsor me first.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. I'm going to have the Sonora cartel out of Mexico sponsor you.
I hope they like a D2C audience.
The amount that you charge will be, they'll be like, go in your backyard and dig a hole 4 feet deep, and we buried money there. Yeah. And we don't know how much is there. Tell us how much it is.
Tunnels is their Facebook ads. That's how they get to you.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that show with the guy from Arrested Development on Netflix where he was like a drug dealer? I forgot what it was called now.
It's the thing in Missouri.
Yeah. Ozark.
Yeah. Such a good show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ruthie.
Yeah, that's right. She was an amazing character. But we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about operations from this article I read 20 years ago in the Wall Street Journal. We're going to talk about BulbHead. And if we can get to it, we're going to talk about Pietra Studio. So a lot of stuff to get through today.
All right. Should we talk ops?
Yeah, let's talk ops, and then we can move on to BulbHead, which I don't know anything about. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about it. So, when we were at some point during the holiday break, I saw this article about operations from 20 years ago in the Wall Street Journal. And I linked it.
It was published 20 years ago?
It was published 23 years ago, believe it or not, in September 2000. When I was still in high school, and Nik, I'm not sure when you were born, but probably around there. Okay, yeah, you were 4.
I was in these diapers.
It was in the diapers that they talk about in the article. Yeah, it was, that's crazy. So, basically, it's an article that talks about operations and how at the time retailers and brands were trying to do a better job collaborating to provide real-time inventory or just-in-time inventory to retailers. So, really is a case study on how Costco and Kimberly-Clark is the maker of Huggies diapers, work together to make sure that they could stock Costco's with inventory, but never have too much or too little inventory. And so there's a few things that they talk about. One is they say, hey, we need 2 weeks of inventory. They're like, every Costco should have 2 weeks of inventory of every single product. And, Huggies diapers have different sizes, right? If you're a newborn versus, if you're Nick Sharma, 4 years old, you're probably wearing different size diapers. And so, they're like, hey, we got to get the diaper sizes right. And we want 2 weeks of every SKU in stock. So Costco at some point basically outsourced this to Kimberly-Clark, and they're like, you do the inventory management because you're good at it. And you have the supply chain credibility and, chops to be able to do this. And so some guy in Wisconsin would be managing all of Costco's Huggies diaper SKUs. And, the guy in Wisconsin worked for Kimberly-Clark, worked for Huggies. And he was like, okay, we need to send more Huggies to this store at Costco. We need to send more Huggies to this store. The article details he's never set foot in a Costco because he lived in Wisconsin, and at the time there weren't any Costco's there. And so he was just doing a really good job of this. And then Kimberly-Clark did this one thing where they're like, we're going to make supply chain operations even easier. We're going to get rid of separate gender diapers. Boys and girls don't need 2 different types of diapers. And I'm not sure the logistics of I'm not sure I understand how diapers work well. But they were like, we're going to get rid of boys' diapers and girls' diapers and have a unisex diaper to make it easier for everyone. And so they did this
progressive of them.
It was quite progressive. Yeah. I think it was really it's just supply chain ops, and they're like, this is better. And it was really smart of them. And, it details how P&G, they interviewed some guy at P&G, and he's like, the holy grail of supply chain ops is he should not have said this. He's like, someone buys a roll of Bounty paper towels, we cut down a tree at the same time. Someone buys Bounty paper towels, we cut down a tree so that we can make another roll of Bounty paper towels. But I thought it was really interesting that retailers were trying to do this, like, just in time inventory. And it got me to thinking that, like, the brands that I've operated and run have primarily had just in time inventory, like Native and a couple others that I've run. Like Native would produce deodorants. Today's Monday that we're recording. If you bought a deodorant today, it was probably produced on Friday or like Thursday. And so we never had a ton of cash tied up in inventory. And I think people don't realize how special that is when you can get, or especially when you're starting out, if you can get terms from your suppliers so that you don't have to pay up front. Like, Walmart and Target, when we send them inventory, they don't immediately pay us. They're like, we're going to hold this and we're going to try and sell it in the, 2 weeks, the 2 weeks of inventory you gave us. We're going to try and sell it in the next 2 weeks and then pay you. We did a good job of like having just-in-time inventory, so we never had more than $1 million tied up in inventory, even though we were selling millions of dollars of deodorant a month. We weren't keeping a lot of cash tied up in there, and I think not enough founders think about that. So I just wanted to like flag that article because I thought it was really great.
For Native, how would you do that? So it would get produced in Texas, and then you would drive it over the weekend to like a 3PL. They would unload it right away, and then it would pretty much ship almost immediately.
That's exactly right. In fact, we would have 2 pickups a week where we were like, we're picking up 3 pallets or 4, whatever they had. We never did full truckloads. We did partial truckloads. And like YRC, Nik, I hope you never have to go through this. You probably have
That's
to.
That's the one you, I think, told me to use the first time. Yeah, so I think I did use it.
Yeah, they're the guys who have like a pretty good online portal and like they're reliable. So like they'll say, okay, we're going to show up on Tuesday and delivery will be Thursday. And you can guarantee delivery on Thursday if you pay a little bit more. Like we would use them because you could book everything online. Everyone else, you got to like call people and all this shit. It's really annoying. YRC had a really good online portal. And so we would have them, we'd book them and every day they'd pick up, or twice a week they'd pick up 5 pallets and drop it off. And so like, that's how we had real-time inventory. We paid more in freight costs as a result, but we never had more than $5,000 tied up, or not 5,000, never more than $1 million in inventory $1 million of cash tied up in inventory.
Wow.
The other thing this got me to thinking about was like Costco and just generally how it fits into the landscape of retailers. Costco undercuts everybody. And at Native, we had this strategy of trying to never sell into Costco, which is weird because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm in Costco. This is going to be great for my brand. And while it turns a ton of inventory and it gets your eyeballs in front of a bunch of people who are going to be good customers, it just destroys your pricing capabilities. Because at Costco, if you're selling 3 deodorants and you're like, look, I sell them for $30 on my website. They're like, we don't give a shit what you sell them on your website. We're going to charge 15% more than you charge us for them. Like that's our model is we don't care what it's sold for elsewhere. If you sell me this pen for $1, I'm going to sell it for $1.15. That's my business model. And you're like, well, Walmart sells it for $2 and on Amazon we sell it for $2. They're like, well, that's everyone else's problems. Like, we're selling for $1.15 and that's what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden Walmart's like, hey, at Costco, this is $1.15. We need to drop our price to $1.15 too. And so then Amazon does it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I had all this brand equity built into this pen. I was selling it for $2 and I sold into Costco and now my price is $1.15 everywhere and I can't do anything about it.
That is very true. In fact, I just placed an order for Costco last week to buy some groceries, and Hint, a pack of 15 bottles of Hint comes for $14.27 each, which is 95 cents a unit. Whereas online, that comes for $1.66. And then you're right. Then everybody else starts matching it and saying, well, your cost per unit, your cost per thing. And I even remember specifically in the summers, Hint would go $1 per bottle in Target. It was great because it drove a ton of velocity. But the biggest downside was Amazon has all these algorithms set up to quickly snipe discounted product to justify bringing your price down without you even being able to do anything about it. So especially if you're Vendor Central, which is where they buy the pallets from you directly and they sell it and they ship it, they just go match whoever and then they beat you over the head to get the product even cheaper.
Definitely. Because they're like, you can sell it to, like Costco can sell it for 95 cents. Why are we selling it for $1.66? We're dropping the price. We need the margin. You were charging us $1 to buy the bottle. Now you're going to charge us 50 cents. Otherwise, don't ever sell on Amazon again.
Right.
That's crazy that the price difference is so much. 95 cents from Costco and it was $1.66 on Amazon or on Hint's own website.
I could repack this and make money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That is hilarious. I met these guys whose business it was. They'd like go to, I met them at the Super Bowl, believe it or not, a few years ago. And they would go to like Home Depot and TJ Maxx and be like, oh, we found these ceiling fans and they're on clearance here. We're going to buy all 250 that you have because you're selling them for $30 and on Amazon they're selling for $90.
That's
so we
incredible.
Can price them for $60. And their business, like, they were braver than I am. Like, I'll readily admit that, because every day or every week they had to get into a new business, which was, we're going to find a new item on clearance. That item is selling cheaper here than on Amazon. We're going to buy it and undercut the Amazon price on Amazon. But like, they were selling ceiling fans this week. A month from now, they could be in like, dog food or like, cat litter. And you never knew what they were going to get into. And I thought that was bananas. You remember a couple episodes you mentioned that Quip toothbrush that you bought at TJ Maxx? They could have bought all of them.
Yeah, literally. My sister used to do a version of this where she'd go back to college a couple weeks early because she was a college athlete, and she would get all the books from the donated bin and flip them on Amazon with a $99 Seller Central account. And then she would get Ibotta notifications. Ibotta's that app for like coupons and retail, and she could find stuff that was high demand on Target, discounted there, and just flip it to Amazon.
Wow. Entrepreneurship runs in your blood over there, huh?
I know. It's crazy.
My first foray into e-commerce was something similar. I would buy these things on eBay called grab boxes for like $1, where people were like, I'm selling a box of garbage for 99 cents and it's literal garbage. And I would buy it and I'd be like, okay, let me break down the items and see, is there anything here that'll sell for $7? Like, somebody will have a garbage MP3 player, but then you'll be able to sell it for $7 and you bought them. And then you're like, okay, that covered the whole box and the shipping. So all this other garbage is free. And then you're like, oh yeah, everything here is, I probably made like a few $100s doing it, but that was my first foray into e-commerce. That's probably when I was like in middle school.
The adult version of that, a friend of mine does, where he'll just buy storage units that have been abandoned for like $50, $80. And then whatever's in there is his. So he has to clear it out. But, he might find like a gaming machine in there or an Xbox, and, then he can flip that.
There's multiple TV shows on the History Channel. Used to be this channel about like, World War II and Vietnam War. And now they're like, here is people buying, storage wars.
It's
like
HGTV
right?
2.0.
It's HGTV. Okay, got it. Yeah. I watched one episode and this guy, like they bought a storage unit and it stunk so bad. And they're like, we don't know what this is. And the guy bought it for like $500 or $1,000. And it ended up being a hot dog vending cart that still had like gross hot dogs in there. But he's like, I'm going to clean it up and it'll be worth, $4,000.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, it was disgusting. But yeah, that is the adult version. I can't, it's amazing how many ingenious and creative ways there are to make money, and people are just doing all these things. Like, your sister doing that, your other friend going into storage units and buying it. Amazing.
All right. Should we talk about BulbHead?
Yes, I would love to talk about that.
All right. So last night, it's a long weekend here in New York. So last night, probably around like 11 o'clock, I'm just sitting watching the Australian Open on ESPN. It just started. So ESPN, they understand who's watching on a Sunday night at, 10 o'clock p.m. It is old people, okay? It's nobody under the age of 40. It's people who can be tricked. It's people who you could tell them that, like horses now grow wings and they'd believe it. So my guess is that they didn't realize, whoever places the ads or schedules the programming of the ads didn't realize that, a much younger demo was going to come in and watch for the Australian Open starting. So they're running all these old people targeted ads. So I see this ad and it's this thing called lizard flare. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Yeah. It sounds like a name that you might be able to trust, but like you won't distrust it. And it doesn't sound like some fancy, like, D2C brand that's going to be overpriced, right? Correct. So Lizard Flare, they're showing this ad, and I love listening to like the angles of the script in an ad. So as I'm listening, they're saying, basically the product is like these flares when you get into a car accident, put these flares on the street. Problem with flares is like, you can burn yourself, I think, or you might be able to injure yourself somehow. So it's not old people friendly, which is again who we're talking to. So there are these lights that, they show like all these different versions of, it works in snow, it works in rain, it works in the fog, it works in a fire. They have a fire truck come and run over it, and they're like, that's 300,000 pounds running over it. And it still works. And so now what else is interesting is they keep pulling you to like call this phone number, this 800 phone number. There's also a site, but they don't push it as much. In the ad itself, they're constantly saying things like, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this is the last time we're offering this. The offer is only valid for 24 hours. You can only get 2 packs. And so the other thing they said that I thought was interesting is they even said, like, in the ad, they're like, everyone in your family should have this in their car, right? And like, who do you say that to? An innocent old lady who just wants to take care of her family. So I started thinking, all right, I got nothing better to do. I'm calling this 1-800 number. So I call the number, and instantly it gets picked up. It sounds like somebody's picking up the phone.
You call the number?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm all in on this.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So I call the number, and, it's like, thank you for calling Lizard Flare. We're going to help you make this order, blah, blah, blah. Almost immediately, it starts upselling you. So, they don't tell you in the ad that you get 6 lights per pack. They just tell you that each light is only $9.99, and you can only get a max of 2 packs, right? So in your head, you're thinking, all right, I'm going to make the call. It's $20. Turns out there's 6 in a pack. You can only get 2. So you can only spend $120 plus $7.99 for shipping and handling, which is, when I heard that, and you think about how much sales these guys are definitely doing, these guys are making millions off of this. Shipping is no longer a valid argument to say that is why people are not purchasing. So anyways, they start pushing you, and, you get 2 packs. I hit the 1-pack button to see what would happen. It starts upselling you into the 2 packs. So you get the 2-pack. Now, what else is interesting is you don't ever talk to somebody. So I actually expected that I would talk to somebody in India or in the Philippines, but instead I'm basically on the phone, and they say, what's your name? Say your name and then spell it. So, I said my name was Billy McFarland. So I'm like, Billy McFarland, then I spell it out.
It's an automated voice. It's just like
fully automated. Wow, and it knows when to start recording and stop recording. Yeah. So my guess is they have like somebody, instead of the Indians on the phone, they got the Indians like listening to this and writing it down. Yeah. And I didn't end up going through the whole thing because I didn't want to give them my address or my number or card number, but I assume that's how the rest of it happens. Yeah. And so anyway, so then I started, I went to their site. Have you pulled up the site?
Yeah. I pulled up their Amazon page, actually.
Okay, so their site looks like dog shit. It is probably the worst site I've ever seen. It's basically made up of like 6 images, and then you have this really old school checkout on, the bottom left. And even the way that they wrote out like the pricing on the page itself, it's hard to see what you're actually paying versus what the cost of each unit is. So anyways, I think this is very much built to old people. So I looked up the TV commercial. 24 hours until it's all gone, right? This commercial's been running since July 2022.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why. I can't imagine. That's like our sale is ending tomorrow.
Right.
It will get extended.
Oh, it's extended.
Yeah.
So they've been running this. So then I tried to find just some more info. Came across their YouTube. Clicked a link in their YouTube. Turns out there's a whole company called BulbHead, which makes all these, I don't want to say garbage, but it kind of is garbage, that is just sold on TV. They have a toll-free number to call. You get free shipping. You can go to their bulbhead.com. That's like their marketplace site.
So these guys own Lizard Flare and a bunch of other of these.
Yeah, they invent all these things, and basically it's the guy that invented or created As Seen on TV, an Indian guy, I think, is behind this. And never mind, he's American. He's got an Indian kind of name, but never mind, he is Indian. Indian out of New Jersey. This guy doesn't get more Indian, and he basically, he holds over 100 patents on this. This is all he does. He just launches products, and he knows the funnel. He's got the phone funnel dialed in. He's got the TV commercial style dialed in. He knows his audience to go after. And this guy just launches product after product after product. I'm just going to name a couple that you might recognize. I don't know how much TV you watch, but the Amber Vision sunglasses that instantly you put the glasses on and it's like you went from a 360p YouTube video to like a 720p. You got the Pet Egg foot file. You got the pocket hose. You got the Slim Cycle. You got the Hurricane spin mop. This guy just does not miss. And every single one of them is TV to a phone funnel.
I did not know of this guy. First, really great research. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome. You went like deep in this. You watched an infomercial on during the Australian Open and you're like, I'm going to find out who AJ Kubani is. That's his name, right? That's his name? AJ, that's his name? Wow. That is amazing. First, really interesting. Like I saw on Amazon with the lizard flare, it's got 4.5 stars. The last review was top review from other countries. Saw this product on TV, purchased as a gift. There was no way I would give this to someone. I would be totally embarrassed. Product is a cheap piece of crap. But the other reviews are 4.5 stars. And frankly, I understand why this thing exists and why flares exist. Like I've had a flat tire. I was once driving in Scotland, had a flat tire, and I was like, I'm afraid a car is going to drive over me while I'm trying to fix the flat and kill me. And like those flares would be super helpful. I cannot believe this Indian guy's been doing this. Like, how do we get in touch? We got to try and get him on the podcast.
We got to get this guy on. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if he lives in New Jersey and he's Indian. That's crazy. I don't recognize a ton of these other products. Do you recognize them? Like the hula hoop trainer and the Ruby space triangles. You recognize those?
I definitely recognize some of these. The angle view mirror, which, it's inspired by race cars who drive fast. I recognize that. I recognize, some of these, the closet stuff. But dude, I don't know. You know what I really want to know is like, how do they figure out like what is essentially they're foreshadowing trends before they're trends in a very specific demographic.
Yeah. How do they figure out what to start selling? Is that what you mean? Like what?
Yeah.
Great
and
question.
Also I wonder like why haven't these, so like BulbHead.com is built on Shopify, but I wonder why they haven't gotten further down that rabbit hole of like, can we get more online orders? I mean, if you go to the Lizard Flare site, it is not on Shopify. It's some like static page. In fact, it's really hard to find any tech on this page with PayPal as the payment processor. But like, why not have this on Shopify and why not have an easy upsell for some other shitty TV product that somebody's probably going to buy if they're buying this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, why lead people to a phone funnel as opposed? Maybe it's because, what you mentioned initially, which was the people who are watching this are old people who are watching the Australian Open post 10 p.m. But even then, 40-year-olds are using the internet. Our number one demographic, or our cheapest demographic in native for a long time was women over the age of 55. So I don't believe that these people can't be, maybe 15 years ago wasn't the right time to introduce them to the internet. But today, 65-year-olds are purchasing things on the internet for sure. So I'm surprised that they don't have more of a funnel built for the internet. But it does exist and it's pretty easy to go through, frankly. Like, it doesn't look nice, but you scroll down, you go to order now and you just select the number of units you want. It's a one-page checkout on a landing page. You select your type of payment, you put in your credit card number. It is really easy to do it, but it looks like it was made in 1982 for sure.
Yeah. Which maybe to that demo is like a sign of safety. I just looked up his, I found an LLC that he's associated with. This guy has got patents on patents. Like, this guy does not stop filing patents. I think he files a patent almost every month.
He obviously wrote his own Wikipedia article because he said he and his wife had a modern arranged marriage in 1985 and have been happily married ever since. Like, this is very clear he wrote this himself or had somebody do this, but he frequently guest lectures at Princeton University, which is fantastic. I think more universities should have people like this, like hustlers.
Agreed.
Teaching you how to, what real life is like. I don't need to know, what mitosis is. I need to know how to sell products on Amazon or run an infomercial. I'd be really curious to understand the economics behind it. Like, what does it cost to run an infomercial and how long will it last? Like, do celebrities help? Do you need an I was talking to some guy recently and he's like, we were trying to get an A-list celebrity and then instead we got a football player that had some like, trouble with the law recently. And it was, instead of being $1 million, it was just tens of thousands of dollars and like
That's
low
amazing.
tens of thousands of dollars. And he's like, it wasn't the best person to get, but like, it was a great brand endorsement and it looked good to me too. I wonder like if that kind of stuff helps with this. Have you heard of one called Flextape?
Flextape. It sounds familiar.
Flextape is the coolest product I've ever seen on an infomercial. It's this guy named Phil Swift. I think he's the guy who hosts the article or hosts the infomercial. And he's like, this is the strongest tape in the world. And what he does is he cuts a boat in half, literally like a canoe in half. And then he uses Flextape to repair it. And then he goes out in the ocean and is like, look, I'm on this canoe on top of a bunch of sharks. That's how much I trust this, because this tape has fixed the boat and it's waterproof and it will not let me sink and I will not be eaten with these sharks. When I saw it, I was like, I need to get this product. I was like, I don't have a house. I have no reason I need tape, but I need this product right now. It's really convincing.
You know what's fun to do? Like, have you played around much with ChatGPT?
Yeah.
So, if you give it like, if you're like, hey, I'm selling a deodorant, write me 5 Facebook ad headlines for the deodorant. So it'll write 5. And then you say, now write one like I'm a Trump supporter. And then write one like I'm a Biden supporter. The differences in how it writes it is so different. And I honestly feel like this style of a commercial is just a different version of communicating your product, right? It's like, okay, we know our audience is super old and they respond to seeing visually stimulating things with sirens flashing or like the Phil Swift guy, like doing something super over dramatic to kind of convey the point. But I still think like, I think Glossier could do that too in their own way.
I completely agree. In fact, I always wondered why more direct-to-consumer brands aren't doing these types of infomercials. Like if you're a Casper mattress and you're like, yeah, I can buy the New York City subway, maybe 10 years ago wasn't right for your brand, but today, isn't it a ton of like value accretion and revenue generation? Because you're like, I bought 30 minutes in the middle of the night. You know who's up? Insomniacs at 2 a.m. Why don't I sell you a bed? Oh, your back hurts. You can't sleep. You know what's good for sleeping? Casper mattresses. I'm surprised more direct-to-consumer brands don't play around with this. I'm really like, I think it's great that direct-to-consumer brands are on QVC. Like I always think about Curie deodorant, like Sarah, she's on QVC all the time, and I was like, this is awesome.
Always selling
People
out.
should break into this market.
Agreed.
Like we're on like direct-to-consumer brands are only tapping like the obvious channels like Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. There are other channels that are old school that we haven't touched that I bet have a ton of value.
It's the hindrance of having to put your pants on though, to go and talk to those people versus just sit in your underwear and run Facebook ads.
Yeah, and it's a lot more risk because you got to buy an infomercial, buy inventory so you can ship it out.
Figure out how to edit like that.
Yeah.
And write scripts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, different world.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a different world.
All right, should we talk one more or should we cut it there?
I think we got to cut it there because we're at almost an hour already. So I think we should talk more about AJ Kubani, this guy, the OG direct-to-consumer
I'm going to try to find a way to reach out to him.
Yeah, he's in New Jersey. I'll go knock on his door. I love this photo you have of him wearing these sunglasses on here. Is that really him? He looks like a Bollywood actor. Oh my God.
Isn't that every Indian's goal is to just eventually be the Bollywood actor that you never could?
For sure. Believe it or not, my mom called me earlier today and she's like, I think I just saw your face on TikTok. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, what is this thing? I don't know what this is. And she's like, it says something supply. Now? Yeah. She's like, is this on TV? I want to tell all my friends. I was like, no. And she's like, you're doing it with another Indian guy? How many Indian people are you surrounding yourself with? So she just discovered that we were doing this.
That's amazing. My mom will listen to it and she'll be like, how come he cusses so much sometimes?
Yeah, that's that. In fact, when I was saying that stuff at the beginning of the episode today, I was like, wow, this is not good. People are listening in their car with kids. So I'm going to try and stop. That's not my New Year's resolution this year, but I'm going to try and do a better job of that anyway.
That's so funny.
Okay, awesome. This was a great episode. Thanks for bringing all this research, Nik. This was fantastic. Like stuff that I would never have thought about.
It's season 3. We're not coming with anything except the propane.
Yeah, this was fantastic. All right, looking forward to it. If you like this episode, please follow us on Apple or on YouTube. Listen up, we're going to release episode 3 next week. If you have any questions or things that you think Nik and I can do better, please shoot us messages or just tweet at us. We're constantly reading those.
Also, make sure you leave a review. Send this to a friend. Drop it in a group chat. Take a screenshot. Have it ready to send when your conversations get boring. Just do something. It's limited supply.
Awesome. That's episode 2. Thanks so much, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.